Embla Books presents The Spare Room, written by Laura Starkey and read by Fran Burgoyne. June. Chapter 1. As Rosie Butler dug around in her underwear drawer for a pair of stomach-squashing control knickers, she reminded herself that it wasn't every day she was asked to attend a swanky 8-course dinner at a posh central London hotel. If she was honest, she'd have preferred the invitation to have been delivered a little earlier and a lot more clearly. But she pushed this thought aside, suppressing the spark of annoyance she felt in the same way her very large, very tight pants would soon be compacting her tummy and backside. It was the day of James's work summer party, an annual event at which employees and their dates were invited to eat, drink, and make merry. Her boyfriend of almost a decade had his eye on a major promotion, and he'd repeatedly stressed the need for the two of them to show up smiling and ready to schmooze. Somehow, though, he'd left it until Rosie had showered and started smearing moisturiser on her cheeks to mention that the event would involve a formal sit-down dinner. The dress code, he had blithely explained, was super smart, without so much as a hint of casual. Dismayed, Rosie had eyed the pretty cotton sundress and sandals she'd planned to wear, laid out neatly on their bed. It was the same outfit she'd shown him 2 days ago, and which he'd given an absent-minded thumbs up while typing something on his phone. "You're telling me I need evening wear for this thing?" she'd asked, panic-stricken. "A cocktail dress, heels, and you're mentioning it 47 minutes before we need to leave." James had merely shrugged. "It's at a high-end hotel in Covent Garden. I thought it was obvious." The notion that Rosie, whose wardrobe largely consisted of well-worn jeans, favourite T-shirts and casual Chuck Taylors, might need time to put together a suitably elegant look, had entirely passed him by. Rosie had sat in silence as she applied blush, lipstick and mascara, valiantly resisting the urge to bring up the fact that last year's summer party, a relaxed affair involving Pim's chicken kebabs and posh burgers in brioche buns, had been held in the garden of the very same hotel they were going to tonight. Aware that she had to be in a cab in approximately 15 minutes, Rosie stood in her fluffy pink dressing gown and riffled through her wardrobe. She watched James shrug into the custom-made suit his parents had bought him for his brother's recent wedding, and sighed heavily. It wasn't fair. Dressing up for a posh evening do was so much easier for a man. She pushed aside an array of coat hangers that, in the main, offered her nothing more elegant than yoga pants, oversized jumpers and hoodies. Finally, she dug out a red, vintage-style pencil dress she hadn't worn in at least 5 years. Made of scarlet shot silk, it was beautiful, but very unforgiving. She prayed she could still pour herself into it. Taking care not to smear her makeup or muss her blow-dried blonde hair, Rosie pulled the dress over her head and smoothed it down her body. There. She'd managed to get her hips into the snug, wiggle-style skirt without splitting a seam or giving herself a hernia. Now she could only hope that the dress would do up. Delicately, she pinched together the 2 flaps of crimson fabric that hung below her right arm. With a little effort and a lot of breathing in, she pulled the zip all the way into position, then fastened the hook and eye that sat above it. Emitting a shallow sigh of relief, she slipped her feet into the black, high-heeled shoes she'd bought for the funeral of Mr. Bettini, their old landlord and the former occupant of their building's top-floor flat. The shoes had been purchased at short notice for an event that would mainly involve sitting down, weeping and looking respectful, but they were the only appropriate ones she owned. Rosie shuddered, somehow already able to feel blisters forming on her toes. She was an ungainly disaster in any foot.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?